Hello and welcome to a new episode of LCPtracker's E3 series where we aim to engage, educate, and empower the construction community. Again, my name is Tanner Sabaco and I'll be one of the hosts for today's interview along with LCPtracker's Workforce Manager Business Unit Director, Amanda Hesse. Amanda, would you like to introduce our first guest?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tanner. I would like to introduce Erin Volk. She is the Vice President of the Workforce and Community Development at AGC.
Thank you, Amanda and Tanner. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I can tell you we are just as excited to have you here with us today, Erin. I know Amanda's probably told you this many times, but we at LCPtracker, we really love what you and your colleagues and your partners are doing. I think it aligns very well with what we're trying to accomplish here with this series. You know, we mentioned it before, but engaging, educating, and empowering, all that can really only happen as long as we have the construction community, and AGC's efforts to grow and build that community is part of what makes it all possible. So without further ado, I figured maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about AGC's Build California program and why it's so important.
Absolutely. So Build California is an initiative originally developed by AGC of California and our Construction Education Foundation. And it was created to inspire, engage, and activate the next generation of the construction workforce for California. We do this by shaping positive perceptions about the construction industry, informing youth about their real choices within the industry, and really talking more to their influencers about those opportunities as well, and connecting them to their local training and apprenticeship programs that they likely don't know about within their communities.
So Erin, while working with these youth generation, what kind of challenges and barriers are you facing at an everyday scale?
Definitely going back to that issue of misperceptions that I touched upon earlier. It's so rampant, right? Not only with youth, but with their influencers. So there's so many messages out there about what construction is, what we do, and who belongs in our industry. And those are misperceptions that have been perpetuated over decades. So one good example is how construction is portrayed in mass media, right? Where if you know anything about Gen Z, you know the majority of their information comes from media, online, digital primarily, but they're digital natives. So that's where they go to, and that's what they're exposed to. And their whole lives, they've been marketed to, right? What you see on TV or what you see in commercials or you see across mass media about construction is heavily geared towards things like messages about how construction is not a lucrative career. You must go to college to be successful, right? So we really wanted to make sure that we were breaking those misperceptions, and it's difficult to do because there, again, decades of this to undo.
Erin, let's shift focus just a little bit and kind of talk about the response to some of these challenges that you just previously outlined. What is Build California doing to ensure effective strategies in reaching these people that the industry has previously kind of struggled to resonate with?
Absolutely. So again, we recognized very early on that an out-of-box solution would not work, and that we had to A, do our homework, and B, deliver on what our state needed to see and what the people in our state needed to see in order to really see themselves in our industry. So for the first part, in terms of doing homework, we definitely became internal experts on everything Gen Z, or to the best of our ability, and we used our resources that already exist. One of the partners that we brought in early on is XYZ University. Sarah Sladek is one of the leading experts in association management and workforce development around generational communication and work practices. So we were able to lean heavily on her research to guide us in the process. And then we hired experts in the marketing communication space. Again, we work in construction. I'm a political science major, we're not going to be able to reach the youth and compete with major brands out there that are vying for their time and space, like Taco Bell and Nike and all of those things. We're competing with them whether or not we want to think we are, right? So we hired experts to help lead us through. So focus groups, huge. Focus group with parents and influencers. What are they thinking and why? Focus groups with students. We heard things from parents that really resonated with us in terms of the why for us, why we need to do this. We had one mother tell us that she'd rather her son go infantry army than go into a construction trade because he would be safer, he would make more money over time, and that he would have a longer term career option, uninterrupted career option than if you were in the trades. And while I respect our folks in the military, they do things all day, every day that I cannot and probably wouldn't do, sadly. That's simply not true. And that's the result of the decades of misperceptions. And what's just so sad about it is that means there are so many students and then families who have missed out on wonderful careers and the economic advantages that come with them simply because they didn't know and they fell victim to misperceptions and misinformation, right? So doing our homework and doing the focus groups were so important. And then taking those lessons learned, even if they felt counterintuitive to what we thought or what industry leaders were telling us, and putting them into place. And then we put forward, real work. I've heard, recently someone said, reacted to, people will say sometimes we need to make the industry cool again. I don't think that we should have to make it cool again. It is cool. Everything we do is cool, right? But what we have not done a great job of is presenting that in a way that is cool to the generation we're trying to reach. And that means something different for every generation.
That's fantastic. So Erin, while working on some of these projects, what are some of the advantages in the construction industry that might not be as obvious to some?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, to the general public, there's so many things they just don't know in terms of the advantages around our careers. I mean, a big thing I talk to students about at construction career awareness fairs and different opportunities for Build California that just blows their mind is the idea of a pension, right? They're growing up in a generation that they're being told plan for retirement because you will not see Social Security, and so many employers aren't matching 401ks now, or not to the same level as like our parents, right? Or grandparents. And so they don't understand the concept of pension, but once they do, it's like, what? Right? Or even just like the environment, like, yes, somebody may be telling you that you need to go to college in order to be successful, but do you really want to sit in an office at a cubicle, if that's even a thing, right? In a few years, is that what you want to do with your life? So talking about the environment, in terms of matching it with their personal skill set and, or, just the way they want to live. Do you want to be outdoors? Do you want to be moving around, or do you want to be at a desk? And then travel sometimes appeals to students that they didn't know, right? Especially students from certain communities where they've never been outside of that community. We're a transient industry, and people often get deployed to different projects in different areas, right? So, and it's paid for. And then the pay is the thing. Like, as soon as you tell them the average, average wages that they can make, even if they go right into apprenticeship at 18, that blows their mind, because they're all looking at, I'm going to get a job at In-N-Out Burger while I'm going to college. And, In-N-Out Burger, again, pays their folks very well, but it's not the wages that they would get if they were, even a first year apprentice.
One of the things that really pointed out to me is those cards you had on your website and the way you were able to see the rates of the pay visible right when you log in. So that was one area that really stood out to me from your team.
Yeah, thank you. Those, again, going back to the challenges, right? Like, we had to come up with different ways to present salary information, because, again, a carpenter prevailing wage up in Chico, not the same as LA. So the cards that you reference, we do have printed versions, and on the back, all the salary data is statewide. But when you go to the website, you can actually search salary by occupation or trade by region. So that helps narrow it down a bit. It also encourages students to check out other areas of California. If treat it like college. Like, if you're going to, find a place to go for training, does it have to be in the city you're in now? Or can you, get away from home and get just like you would if you were going to college?
Yeah, Erin, and I would just add one little tidbit there. I'd say some of these people that are going the college route, they come out with thousands of dollars of debt, right? And sometimes they're even struggling to find that job right after graduating. And maybe the job they do end up with, the starting pay is much less than the 20 or 30 or 40 plus dollars an hour that some of these construction trades are paying. And in addition to this, people that go the construction route, they're not coming out with this large debt from their training, but they also began earning money 3 to 4 years earlier than the college grads. Let's switch things up though. Let's talk about partners, because I think they are important in any endeavor. And I know that LCPtracker, we're proud to support what you're doing. But how can any other organizations go about contributing to this movement that Build California is creating?
I like to talk about how, this is an industry-wide challenge, and it takes an industry-wide solution and an effort, really, right? We all fail or succeed together when it comes to construction workforce and how we cultivate, attract, develop, and retain it for the future to come. So to get involved, we have sort of 3 ways: volunteering, fundraising, and then recruiting, right? So we have a volunteer program called our Build California Ambassador Program. Those are the folks we train to deliver Build California presentations, now mostly virtually, to classrooms and other settings, hopefully back in schools and at career fairs someday in the near future, right? And then, of course, fundraising. We invite any and all to be part of our Build California Coalition. LCPtracker is one of our founding partners. We have many others who have stepped up to the plate to help us with resources, either in kind or monetary, so that we can continue to do the great work. But some of those, that ranges from some of our union partners, the Southwest Carpenters Council, the Northern California Carpenters Council, Northern California Laborers Training and Training Center. We also have a number of contractors. Go to buildcalifornia.com and our About Us page, and you can see all of our wonderful partners. But the important thing to know is they cross all segments of the industry and really show this comprehensive approach to all working together towards the same cause. And that's important moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin, for sharing some ways people can get involved and help. And one of the key things you've really pointed out is a collaborative environment to really start using technology to work together. And that is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why Build California and the newest LCPtracker product, Workforce Manager, came together. Because we've created this product that will allow contractors, pre-apprenticeship programs, Build California, nonprofits to all be able to connect together and leverage data and be able to report out on the outcomes of these great programs that already exist. Build California is doing a fantastic job of changing the way we view the construction industry. Our goal is now to share how all the other folks are participating and adding so much value to the construction industry. What wages are these contractors making after they get out of the apprenticeship program? What's going back into the local community through a local hire program? So we're really excited about this partnership and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Yeah, exactly. I tell the story often about the first meeting we had, where we came to your office to tell you all about Build California, and then you told us all about a Workforce Manager, and our minds were blown because it was the missing piece to our program. For the last decade, I've been working in this industry around workforce, and the thing that I could never answer was, how do you know it's working? And how do you know that you're putting butts in seats and boots on ground? And hearing more about what you were doing, it was the perfect complement. And not only that, Build California, we're really the feeder. We're the first stop, right? We're the place that they come to learn more. And then we are shooting them down that pipeline to the pre-apprenticeship program, to the apprenticeship program, right? So we're really the first blip, but our job and what we really are designed and positioned to do is to hand them off to those training providers that do that and do that well. But we still want to know where they end up, right? Because we need to know that first blip mattered to them and that we're collectively as an industry making a difference. So I tell my team all the time, LCPtracker and Workforce Manager are critical to our ability to measure success and impact over time. And I can't tell you how important it is to the work that we're doing. And I'm so excited to see 3 years from now, 5 years from now, this is a long game. Our folks got really excited, our board, like, yes, next year you'll be able to tell us. And I'm like, yes, I'll be able to tell you some things. But in terms of long-term impact, let's look at a little farther out, right? Especially as once our contractors and our pre-apprenticeship programs and all are hooked up to our Build California Workforce Manager account, we're going to have so much more information on the program's effectiveness and and partnership effectiveness across the industry. So thank you for all you're doing. Makes my job easier, and excited to see where the partnership takes us.
Erin, we learned a lot today about Build California, technology, how so many things are changing in the industry. But really what this comes down to is the person. How are these careers affecting these people's lives? Do you have an example or a story you could share with me how this has changed someone?
No, that's a great question, Amanda. I've been working in workforce development for the construction industry for the past 10 years. And the thing that keeps me in this work are those people and the stories and the lives that are changed simply because they find out about a career path they didn't know about. And it changes their economic outlook. It changes their family dynamic, everything. And so with that in mind, the story that really stands out to me, I think a couple of years ago, we worked with a woman, a young woman who was incarcerated in Stockton. And that's because coming out of high school, she didn't have any options. And she went through a series of dead-end jobs. She did the standard floating around trying to figure out what it was that she was going to do, found herself incarcerated. And through incarceration, she was able to really come to terms with what it is she wanted to do to give back to her community. She found a pre-apprenticeship program. She met a female carpenter in that program, and it changed her life. Women can do this. I can do this. And so as she was finishing that program, she went into apprenticeship and applied for one of our scholarships, our trade scholarships, which are now Build California scholarships. And so she still keeps in touch with me and sends me messages here and there to let me know how she's doing, or the new car she's just bought, or the house she bought herself, right? So those types of stories are so important to remind us why there's value to what we do. Because at the end of the day, this is about people and our communities and what's possible when they have knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Erin, I know both Amanda and I have said this multiple times throughout the interview today, but we are just so happy to be a part of Build California's efforts. And I do have to wrap up this interview, so I wanted to conclude by thanking you so much for joining both Amanda and myself today. We were so glad to have you on.
Me as well. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you so much. I appreciated the opportunity, and any time to chat with the two of you is good times for me.
All right, well, that's all we have for you today. So make sure to stay tuned for our next episode of LCPtracker's E3 series.